So I gave up smoking in a day. So I used to smoke 20 cigarettes a day for 15 years.
Wow.
And then I decided
Wow.
I'm going to give up smoking. When my wife was pregnant with my first child, I said, I'm giving up smoking. I was going to Spain for New Year's, for Christmas and New Year's. And I had my last cigarette outside Dublin Airport before I flew to Madrid. And
Wow.
I had a half a box of cigarettes in my pocket for the week that we were there.
Yeah.
But that evening, um, I went out for dinner with my wife and her friends at the time that were my friends were the smokers because we would be smoking. And I was hanging out with them and they were having a smoke and they said, "Oh, do you want a cigarette?" I was like, "No, no, no, I don't smoke." They didn't know I'd given up 4 hours beforehand. They just presumed, "Oh, well, this is a long-term thing."
Hello, my name's Naranjan, the host of Master of Your Crafts podcast. Learning from leaders who are continuously inspired, passionate, and driven to align with their soul purpose, sharing their gifts to bring healing to others. The music is composed by Rebecca Everett. Number 170, and I had the pleasure of talking to Stephen Shortt, the CEO of Career Fit and Talent Select, who helps drive individuals and organizations to thrive in their future work. A global speaker and author, he blends psychometrics and strategy to create happier, purposeful careers and is the founder of the Happy People Project. Enjoy the conversation and thank you for watching. Hello and welcome to Stephen. How are you, Stephen?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. I am curious for us to get into this conversation about talent, career, and where is it going? I mean, it's going to a place with AI on the mark and the different types of, I want to say, personalities that have come into
Mm-hmm.
fruition over the last couple of decades. What does that workforce really look like now, do you think, in the world of 2025?
Well, I mean, it's absolutely true. There is a huge amount of change and disruption on the horizon. Anybody who's played with anything, and I remember playing with ChatGPT 3.5, which
Mm.
is not really all that long ago, and being
Mm-hmm.
completely blown away by it,
Mm-hmm.
and saying, "Wow, this is the start of something impressive." I mean, I use ChatGPT for a variety of things. I was using it for basically all of my content, but you start to really now realize, okay, that's
Yeah.
AI generated, and there's a couple of things that really that doesn't sound right, or that's not it.
Right.
So what I do now is I use it to kind of coalesce my thoughts, and I'll have a conversation with it to go, no, I don't like that, or no, I have a better story, or I'll put in a story about this, or I'll talk about this topic, or
Mm-hmm.
content ideas like what kind of things could I be talking about to serve my audience, and it'll give me a couple of ideas, and yeah, don't really think that resonates, but this one is interesting. Let's expand that. What are the key areas? And it will say, give me three things, and I go, yeah, two of them are fine, but one of them I want to change to something else. So it
Mm-hmm.
it allows me to speed up my own thinking,
Right.
as if I was bouncing off somebody. The only problem is, ChatGPT can be almost a little bit sycophantic because it
Mm.
always tells you, "Oh, that's a great idea. Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, you're such a genius." So there are times when I'm like, "Yeah, I've been around enough people to know that not everything I say is a drop of golden nuggets." So,
That,
um,
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting to see it evolve and how the users, how us as individuals are using and interacting with that. So, how are you seeing that influence business owners looking for individuals, looking for talent?
so looking for talent, I don't think that the ATS systems are properly integrating AI just yet, but I think they will get better. I think the ATS systems that are currently out there are pretty clunky, and people figure out very quickly, okay, I need to have this keyword in my CV or my resume this many times in order to make it past the ATS, which defeats the whole purpose of these things.
Yeah.
For me, it's actually why I think that personality is a much better indicator as to whether somebody's going to be successful in your company or not. Obviously, for our selection things, and when we use psychometrics to help companies to find the right people, we can't check things on a personality like they have 5 years experience or they can code in this language or that they have this skill set. But we know from a personality point of view, once they've got those skills criteria, once they can demonstrate that they have those skills, then this is the right person. Because I don't know what it's like where you are, but in Ireland, there's a lot of people talking about a skills first or even a skills only hiring process, which is the idea behind it, like the rationale behind it of not putting all this focus on people's degrees and whether you've got a PhD or whether you went to university or whatever. And I applaud that. And I think that that's absolutely true. There's a little bit too much emphasis put on people's academic qualifications. But where I think that the skills first or the skills only thing falls down is then you're treating this person who's coming in to work for you as just an automaton. Okay, you can do this one task, go sit, put your head down and do it. And that's just not the environment that we work in. Whether we're remote or not, we're still people to people. So I think having an understanding of, yes, they're able to do it, but do they have the interest? Do they have the personality? Are they going to be a right fit for us in the way that we do it? Or are they actually better taking their skills and going to one of our competitors who has a different culture and they're going to be in a happier place?
Yeah, and I think the key word there is culture,
Yeah.
because I think that's ultimately what it is that brings people together. Is the culture, whether it's repelling to an organization, a brand, an environment, or it's going to draw you to it. It's how we ultimately connect or not.
So we hear the phrase an awful lot, a culture by design or a culture by default. So it's every company has a culture. Every company has routines, rhythms, and things that are either allowed to happen and not corrected, and therefore they become the norm, or they're by design. And where I think when you're talking about people that are either repelling or being attracted to, you actually want, as a entrepreneur, as a business owner, I actually want to repel certain types of people from my business, from my team, because they're not going to be a fit. So being very clear and open about what we do and why we do the things that we do the way we do them helps us, I think, to identify, or for people to self-identify as, I'm potentially a fit for that, or that crowd sounds like a bunch of psychos. I don't want to go anywhere near them.
That's fair. That's fair. What is it that got you into doing this kind of work that you're doing? How did you land here?
So I grew up in two family businesses. This is one of my family businesses. We had an English language school, an ESL school, which we sold just before COVID. And then I focused on this because when I spent a bit of time going through my why and my core purpose and what I wanted to be doing, the way that the language travel industry was going really wasn't igniting me anymore. And this side of it did really appeal to me and how I could be helping people. So I started training up in different things like psychometrics and personality profiling and selection and career guidance and all the rest of it. So now I'm really clear on what I want to do. And this is how I'm bringing some of these things to the world.
What, during that exploratory process for you, you have these two, I want to say flourishing businesses. I don't know for sure, but perhaps. And you navigating that conversation with yourself and that dialogue of, that's not really feeding me, this is really feeding me. How were you able to decipher that? And what did that look like in your beingness on an energetic level, but also that made it sense mentally as well?
So making sense mentally, we're all irrational people. Once it makes sense to us emotionally, we'll figure out how to make sense
That's
mentally.
very true. Yes, I agree.
So 10 years before I sold the business, I nearly walked away from the whole lot.
Mm,
And when I verbalized this, when I came back one day to my wife at home, and we just had another argument about the future of the business with my parents and which direction, which course, which services, which offerings, which X, Y, and Z.
mhm,
And when I verbally said out loud, I need to leave the family business, or my kids will never spend time with their grandparents because we won't be able to be in the same room as each other, I
mm,
had a visceral reaction. Every cell, every fiber in my body reacted when I verbalized that, going, no, 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 that's not what we want. So then I went on this journey of figuring out how to do succession planning. And now I have a sideline in successful succession, helping family businesses.
good.
When I came to the point of really going through my why and starting to identify what it is that I wanted to spend my life doing and what I wanted to spend my time doing, maybe not my life is a very long thing, but the next 10, 20 years of that life, what I wanted to be focusing on. I sat with some mentors and some people whose opinion who I hold very highly. And I kind of explained a little bit of the vision to them, and they were really insightful and helping me to see that I was getting excited about this vision and what I
Mhm,
wanted to do, but I was actually trying to shoehorn in what I was currently doing into
mm,
that vision, and it didn't
mhm,
actually fit. And that it was when I had that realization of, okay, that's a really big reason I need to let go of this business, because it's not fitting where I want to go. So I
right.
want to make sure that the team are well looked after. So we sold to a chain that were expanding, and everybody kept their jobs, and I just got to go and do what was more a passion thing for me. And that was all of it was about communication. Like when you're just in
Mm,
your head dancing around, nobody is there to stop the voices in your head
that's right.
amplifying
Yeah.
the things you're telling yourself. Yeah, yeah, of course that makes sense. As soon as you have to verbalize it and defend it, that's when you start to put a real sense of rigor on the idea and the framework
Hmm.
and the plan.
Hmm. So the visceral impact that it had on your body, do you align that to a calling, or did you intentionally say, no, this is the direction I want to go, and I'm going to call it my calling, my purpose at this juncture of your
Um,
life?
so there was the very first time I saw, you've seen the Simon Sinek, I'm guessing, Start With Why, the
Yeah.
TEDx talk. So I remember
Yeah.
the very first time I saw that video when it was starting to become popular back in at the start of that whole process.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I remember it being it resonating with me so much, because I have always asked this question growing up in two family businesses, like, why are we doing this? It
Hmm.
can't be just to make money. There's a million ways to make money, legal and
Hmm.
otherwise.
Hmm.
Why are we spending our time? Why are we choosing to spend our time coming here every day to do this with these people? Why are
Hmm.
we doing it? It can't just be money. And that's when I started really focusing in on understanding what was my motivation. Like, why did I come? Because I was coming to work for a different reason from other people coming to work, and I was coming.
Right.
So and it motivation is all intrinsic. I mean,
Yes.
we have this argument, you can't actually motivate other people. You can put things in place for them to motivate themselves if they want the
That's
carrot or
right.
the stick or whatever. But so what was my intrinsic motivation? Why was I showing up?
Hmm.
And when I started going through, I had some time. We lived in Spain for a year. My wife is Spanish, so we lived in Spain for a year. My kids went to school there, and I had time kind of out of the office, out of the day to day, out of the traveling, and out of the other stuff. And I went through the Simon Sinek stuff, and I
Mm,
started to identify when I was in
good.
flow, when I felt good, when I felt tired and dragged, and all the different exercises. And that's when I started speaking with a couple of mentors and a couple of people who I trusted. And I started to, because I had a mind map of ideas, like as a somebody probably undiagnosed ADHD or just an entrepreneur in general, plenty of ideas when you see a service that is not performing, or you think that something's missing. Oh,
That's right.
I could do this, and there could do this, and oh, we can add on this, and oh, look at that shiny. So
Yeah.
so I had a mind map of a bazillion ideas. But even with the first iteration of my why, which was to help people to help themselves, not
Hmm.
necessarily for me to be doing a coaching or creating a widget, or like doing one,
Hmm.
like I
Hmm.
wanted people to, I didn't want to be doing stuff for people. I wanted to be helping, giving them the tools to help themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even with that first iteration of that why, so many of the ideas were like, yep, that's still a great idea. I mean, it's my idea, of course, it's golden, but
Exactly.
um, it's still a great idea. It's still potentially a big business, potentially something for someone to do, but it's not what I want to spend my time doing. And then over time, I started iterating and iterating and iterating. And now my very public stated purpose, and it's the reason for all of our businesses and all of my businesses, and it's across all of the websites, is that I'm on a mission to make the world a better place with happy people in fulfilling, rewarding careers. That's my
Mm.
area of expertise. That's my area of interest. That's where I align with stuff. That's the way I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
So any other alternative, any other opportunities, if it doesn't fit in with that, I just don't have the time or energy to give it what it would need.
Yeah.
It could be a fabulous idea, just not for me.
Yeah. And that's the tough part, isn't it?
It was tougher. It's actually not so tough now
Mm-hmm.
because I'm quite clear on what I want to do now. So I have the career guidance and the selection, and then the happy stuff was the bit that was um, about a year and a half ago. I got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, which is the self-inflicted one. So
Yes. Yes.
um, and I was in a pretty bad place. I was not physically. I was really up and down. Emotionally, I was up and down. I was in a
Sure.
negative headspace and everything else. And then I started going down to self-doubting myself as an entrepreneur, as a leader, and all this. The stuff I found out like 3 weeks later that I was type 2 diabetic, so my blood sugar levels were bouncing all over
Mm-hmm.
the place, which was obviously
Mm-hmm.
having an effect. But I went through the different things, and I said, okay, I need to kill some of these things. I need to get rid of some of these things that I'm focusing on because it's too much. It's pulling me in too many different directions. And I went down and
Mm.
I analyzed every single one of them, of my ideas that I want to put out into the world. And every single one of them, I thought, no, this is something the world needs. This is something that if something like this already existed, the world would be a better place. But it doesn't exist in this way, so I need to put it out.
Mm.
Then it's also at the end, kind of when I was getting better from the diabetes and everything else,
Yeah.
I started working on the Happy People project. So for me, happy is an acronym of how to live
Yeah.
your life by design. And HAPPY are 5 different criteria, 5 different things that we
Mhm.
can look at our life through to be able to figure out what it is that we want to do.
Right. Right. How did this process work with you in terms of the dynamics with your family? Because family is a loaded word anyways, but
Hmm.
when you get into business with them and have this very pull-push relationship and
Hmm.
dynamic, which is what it sounds like, but I'm sure it is in any family businesses that's
Hmm.
amplified. What was that process for you in getting through it? Because we know any challenges that we have to get through it. There's
Hmm.
no around above, below. You got to go
No.
through it. What was that like for you?
Well, I mean, I think it was Churchill who famously said, "If you're going through hell, keep going because you'll get through the other side."
Yeah. Okay.
But so when I went through that and I had that visceral reaction about walking away, that's when I started researching. I started talking to people. I started interviewing people. I started looking at, and I mean, we are in psychometrics and personality profiling, and like I was able to
Yeah.
understand a lot
That's
more
right.
of that side of it. So I built this successful succession framework, which is a 5-step framework for anybody, whether they're in a family business or they're just trying to get people into their business that can help them. So it's the 5 P's of successful succession.
Hmm.
And the first one is purpose. What are we here for? What's the purpose of the
Yeah.
business? What's the short term, the long term vision? And with current generation and next generation, where
Mm.
the problems can arise is if a current generation who is very risk averse has a 5-year vision of the business, but the next generation is coming into it with energy, might have a 20-year vision for the business. Those two have to align for the first 5 years somehow to get it
Mm.
to
Hmm.
to move forward.
To
Once you
stick.
can do that, then you can start to have conversations about, okay, well, I understand that right now we're going to be doing this, but then we're going to be doing that, and you need to be okay with this. So when I started taking over the business, there was some teething stuff, and there was some moments, and that's where the succession, where the 5 Ps come into it, and where
Hmm.
I learned it. When I wanted to sell the business, that was even though I had bought it 10 years prior to that, or maybe 8 years prior to that,
Mhm.
when I wanted to sell it, that was a different conversation than taking it over, because that was
Mm.
ultimately selling the third child.
Mm.
And
Right.
there was lots of very open and honest conversations. And my parents, as uh, many current generations, have a difficulty in letting go of family businesses because their identity is so wrapped up in that, but they were able to identify as other things, and entrepreneurs and psychologists and all the other
Right.
stuff. So they were able to have an identity for themselves beyond the business. So
Hmm.
that made it a little bit easier, but then also seeing some of the things that were coming down the line, what I wanted to do and what I wanted to do with the other business, um, it was ultimately decided, okay, let's go with this and focus on the other business.
Yeah. What were some of the, let's say, attributes? I know you're into the personality thing, the testing.
Hmm.
I get it. I get it. I get it. But for you, as individuals, when we go through a process that can be so challenging and taxing on very many levels, you got your family dynamics here, you got your own livelihood, your business, your own identity in outside of the family, which I think is a whole nother conversation that we could possibly even have.
Hmm.
As you go through that process in sifting through your journey and your influence of these businesses, your own vision, your own why, what were some of the attributes that kept you connected with you on your purpose?
They kept me connected with me. That's interesting. Um, there's a thing. So sometimes I'm asked from a personality point of view, what's the one personality trait that people need to be successful? And I don't believe that there is one, because I think it's all about context. For me, what I would like to see more of, and I think this is partly an answer to your question, is I think the world needs more curiosity and more empathy.
Mhm.
And for me, I was curious about the process as I was going through it. Sometimes I would be a bit emotional and be like, "Oh, this is why is this happening?" And I'm a victim, and why is this happening to me? But
Mhm.
actually, if I'm curious about, okay, well, okay, this is happening. Why is this happening? Like, why is
Yeah.
that decision being made, or why was that comment made, or why is this the way it is? And then having that curiosity allows you, and easier said than done. We all have egos, to get past some of the stuff. Like, well, I'm obviously right.
Of
So,
course.
but if you're
Yeah.
curious enough, you'll be able to find and be curious about yourself, and curious about how you're feeling and why you're feeling that way, and why that is, why something is resonating with you, or why you're having difficulty letting go of something. And that
Mhm.
curiosity can help you to really understand behind the masks.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I love it probably so much because that's how I navigate much of my life
Hmm.
is being in a place of curiosity. So, with that, what are your intentions? Not only for the business, and I know you shared a little bit about your vision and your mission. Is there another underlying inner purpose beyond the vision that you've put on the website and say out to the world and all that? Is there something a little deeper within Stephen that's saying, that's really what it is?
So
Are you willing to share?
I am absolutely willing to share. I had a fantastic dinner last night with a mentee of mine,
Mm.
a dear friend of mine, who is Spanish, and she just happened to be in Dublin for a conference. So we went for dinner, and we were having conversations, and I was sharing some of the stuff around a couple of years ago, but also every now and again, entrepreneurs, we all get this sense of, well, somebody's going to find out I'm an imposter and I don't actually know what the hell I'm doing, because none of us know
Yeah,
what the hell we're doing. But in
that's right.
those moments, like, oh,
That's right.
somebody's going to find out. The other thing then is also how, because I do a lot of content and I do a lot of videos, and sometimes the videos get a little bit of attention, sometimes they get comments, sometimes crickets.
Yeah.
And when you're marketing a business and you're selling a business with actors and ads, and you go, oh well, the message was off. But when it's your face doing it, you're like, people are not liking me, and that adds an extra
Yeah,
sense
a little
of
there.
thing.
Hmm.
But I had my friend last night, she hit me with this line, which she was sharing some of her own business stuff that she'd gone through that I knew about, and like we worked
Sure.
through some of it. And this phrase popped into my mind, which is being is better than having.
Mm.
And I was struck with this idea. Am I focusing on having a successful business or on being a successful entrepreneur? Because having a successful business is not the same as being a successful entrepreneur, because success means different things in those different areas. Successful
Absolutely.
business, profitable, lots of people, flash stuff, flash whatever. Successful as a human, as an entrepreneur, as a business person, as a human, has different criteria, has different connotations. And she's divorced, and she was saying that one of the things that she sees people being successful are people who have long-term relationships. And today is my 20th wedding anniversary.
Anniversary.
Thank you very much. But it's when you focus it on that, like I want, when I did this exercise as part of preparing for this, generating this happy thing, what did I want, and what's my list of things that experiences that I want. And I talk about means goals versus end goals. And a means goal is the big house, but actually, why do you want the big house? And for me, what I wrote down is I want a house that is big enough, doesn't matter where it is, but I want a house that is big enough to welcome my family and their future families. And that's the thinking. Like, it's not, I want to have a big house so as everyone can look at how successful I am, and I have a wing, and I have a pool, and I have this. I want a place. We still have every Sunday, my sister and her partner and my family, we all come together. My parents, we live together, but we all come together on Sunday for dinner. And I'd love that my girls, I'm guessing when they're in their 20s and in college and traveling, that's not going to be, and that's fine. They've got to live their lives.
Sure, sure.
But that there would want to be this connection beyond, oh, we've got to show up because mom and dad are paying the bills. And that's, for me, the end goal instead of the means goal. So I think what I want is that. I want those experiences, and I want those, I want to be instead of to have. That's probably the most hippy-dippy thing I've ever said. But anyway.
Well, welcome to my world.
Oh,
Okay.
that's fine. Yeah. I have plenty of friends who call themselves woo-woos, so that's fine.
Yeah, whatever that really means, but we
Yeah.
won't even touch that one. So, with that being said, what do you believe about yourself, and does it define who Stephen is?
Yeah, I mean everything. So when I train people in personality profiles, I talk about identity versus reputation. Our reputation is how others see us and how others think of us. And from a career point of view, your reputation is more important than your identity. How other people see you, how your boss sees you, how your clients see you, how your colleagues see you, that is important. If you can get your identity, your actual self, and your reputation as close as possible, that's you living in your authenticity. That's you being authentically you.
Right.
Your identity then is how you see yourself. And that, to me, I'm not necessarily talking about the he, him, she, they, that conversation. I'm talking about how do you show up? How do you want to show up? So the examples that I get, so I gave up smoking in a day. So I used to smoke 20 cigarettes a day for 15 years. And then I decided I'm going to give up smoking. When my wife was pregnant with my first child, I said, I'm giving up smoking. I was going to Spain for New Year's, for Christmas and New Year's. And I had my last cigarette outside Dublin airport before I flew to Madrid. And I had a half a box of cigarettes in my pocket for the week that we were there.
Yeah.
But that evening I went out for dinner with my wife and her friends at the time that were my friends were the smokers, because we would be smoking. And I was hanging out with them and they were having a smoke, and they said, oh, do you want a cigarette? I was like, no, I don't smoke. They didn't know I'd given up 4 hours beforehand. They just presumed, oh, well, this is a long-term thing. That's fair enough. Right. Because what I did is I didn't say, oh, I don't smoke anymore, which is that's a kind of it's potentially a temporary thing. I said, I don't smoke. Because if I don't smoke, and if I think I'm a non-smoker, so why on earth would I have a cigarette?
Right.
because I wouldn't do that. I mentioned that I got diagnosed with diabetes
Yeah.
18 months ago. So I decided that's a right, all or nothing, that's it. I identified as somebody who does not eat sweets.
Right.
So I used to have like 5 cups of tea with sugar a day, part of the ups and downs, and a bar of chocolate at dinner, or a bar of chocolate at lunchtime, a couple of biscuits at dinner, up and down all over the place.
Yeah.
And I have not had a so much as a chocolate chip in 18 months.
Mm.
And
Wow.
because my identity is I don't eat sweets. They smell fantastic and they're very tempting, but I don't eat sweets. Why would I have a slice of cake?
Right. Yeah.
So your identity and how you perceive yourself is a really important part of how you're going to show up. And
Mm.
your personality is simply your predictable behaviors, and your behaviors are based, again, from a
Mm-hmm.
non-academic point of view, your values, your beliefs, your habits, and your perspectives, which is
Yeah.
also known as your
All of
internal
those
frame of
pieces.
reference.
Yeah.
And you can change those little things. So understanding how you see yourself helps you to show up in a more authentic way.
So that was great, but that's all from a very mental space.
Okay.
So now, do you want to try and give me a different answer of viscerally? What do
Mhm.
you believe about yourself, and do you feel it define who Stephen is?
Uh, who I believe I am is I'm talkative, I'm funny, I'm witty, I'm flawed, I'm weak in some areas where I'm pretty good at giving up some things. I'm not so good at picking up good habits like going to the gym or exercising. I have bouts of self-doubt as
Mm.
running a business. I have bouts of exuberant confidence. I think I'm a very empathetic, caring person.
Yeah.
I think I'm a good husband. I think I'm a good father. I think I'm a good son. I have my moments because I'm human.
Mm-hmm.
And that all affects how I show up and how I'm feeling about whether I'm feeling that I have imposter syndrome in one scenario, or that I'm feeling that I
Right.
have a lot of expertise in this area and I can help this, or I can be empathetic and I can support somebody. So how I feel, I think, absolutely does dictate how I show up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think we're in a world where, especially with the age of technology and where we are driving with that, we are perhaps hitting the curve, hitting that bell curve of, like you said, the AI piece was very dominant and people were using it. You can tell it. And now there's a curve bell coming into, actually, no, I actually really want to have a human conversation. I want to read content with a couple of typos and maybe a couple of grammar errors and all of those pieces because I can tell it's coming from a human being. So I boldly asked you that question where it comes from energetically, and thank you for playing with me on that, because I feel that sense of humanness is going to get lost along the way if we allow it. These machines and this automation that's going to inevitably happen, but it's up to us as human beings to have that conscious connection on a very heart-centered space. And I think it's up to us to be able to navigate that and support each other's on that journey. Because ultimately, from my vantage point, we are ultimately souls having this experience on an energetic level. So that puts us in this opportunistic moment where we get to have these conversations, even though you're all the way across over there on a little island and I'm on a bigger island, I guess, in Toronto. So we can have these conversations through this thing called technology. So I just find it fascinating and mind-blowing at the same time that we get to have these human interactions on a much deeper level, because I hear you loud and clear of everything that you've said, but I can also feel pretty deeply as to what you're saying. And I think those are the pieces that we often forget, living in this world where business, structure, focus, government, all of that still is in play for now, I guess. But I think that transition is going to happen soon, but nevertheless, we're still energetic beings, and we still all walk into a place with a feeling and a sense, a sixth sense, if you will. So I shared from that perspective.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you for indulging me on that. So what's next for Stephen?
What's next is we're coming into a slightly quiet time. So a lot of our career guidance stuff we sell into schools, and the schools are going on holiday now. They're doing end of year exams, and then we have the summer. So we'll be tweaking a few things, changing some of that to help make the insights that the students can get and the people can get more beneficial for them. I'm finishing writing a book called Your Future Career to help graduates, recent graduates, high school and university graduates on their career path. And I'm toying with the idea of doing some, because I do a lot of videos. So I'm toying with the idea of doing a kind of a video on demand masterclass, just an easy to follow thing, free for people to again help them on their journey. And if they want more help, they can contact me for any other services or products that we have. But it's the idea is trying to help people as much as possible.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I'm sure you are doing that in bounds, not only from the program and having that very strategic, direct line to your purpose and your vision, but also on the peripheral of having what I'm sensing and feeling is this real solid intention of connecting with family and community and being present in all of that and cultivating those relationships regardless of the hills and valleys that we go through. So I commend you for that, because I don't think it's easily done. And thank you for sharing your story. I mean, I could continue this conversation with you and take it on so many other different trajectories, but I'm mindful of your time, my time, and the attention span of individuals watching and listening to this content. So
and that's going to get less and less with TikTok and AI.
Exactly. So potentially we could do a second version of this.
Absolutely.
We could do a part 2 and continue it and have a much deeper conversation. But I'm grateful for you sharing your experiences, your stories, and me pushing a couple of boundaries there potentially with you in asking some bigger, bolder questions. So thank you for playing with me on that. And thank you for sharing, Stephen. I really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome.
I'm Naranjan, and you've been listening to Master of Your Crafts podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and review, and join me next week for another episode. Thank you for listening.